Training Vignette number 4. This is Scott with Dedicated Threat Solutions, and today I'm going to talk to you about the C word, complacency. Complacency evolves over time and slowly sneaks up on us day by day. So with each passing day that goes by that's uneventful, we kind of get caught up in this belief that nothing bad is going to happen because nothing has happened in the past. So we assume that nothing's going to happen bad today and nothing's going to go wrong tomorrow. So we get sucked into this belief system that everything's going to be fine. And when that happens, we are then caught in that grip of complacency. Now, for most people, they're still going to be fine. But if you work in a job where your safety can be in jeopardy, if you are a law enforcement officer, if you work with the public a lot, you cannot afford to be complacent because there are threats out there that may want to hurt you. Now, obviously, not every threat's going to be a dedicated threat, but we don't want to be victimized by anybody for any reason at all, regardless of the level of victimization, whatever that might be. We want to take all potential steps to avoid being complacent. Complacency will lead you towards unsafe practices. Now, again, for a lot of people, their day is still going to be okay. Nothing's going to happen. But again, if you work in a job where there are potential safety risks, if you're a police officer, if you're a correctional officer, a detention officer, you work in code enforcement, you work in a lot of customer service jobs, jobs where people can get upset with you and want to take their anger and aggression out on you, you can't afford to become complacent. You cannot afford to take shortcuts with your safety. One of the maxims that I use is every day, every task. And I teach that to a lot of law enforcement officers that I work with. And what that means is you want to fight complacency every day with every task that you do so that you're mentally squared away and you're always doing the right thing. You're following procedures, policies, all the safety steps that you need to take so that you don't fall into this trap of complacency. So how do we avoid complacency? Well, it's a daily task that begins with the belief that today might be the day that some form of violence is directed at you. And again, whatever level of violence that is, we don't want to be victimized. So it might be something on the low spectrum of victimization all the way up to and including death. We don't want any of that. So we have to fight complacency every day, and we have to have the mindset that today I could be a target of violence, and even though the possibility might be remote, we're not going to let statistics determine our level of complacency. Statistics become irrelevant if you will become the statistic. And a lot of people lose sight over that. So how do we fight complacency? Well, we have to develop a routine against it that does not involve paranoia. We don't need to become hypervigilant, right? We could still go about our lives happy, healthy, productive members of society, but we still keep a level of safety at the forefront of what we do. Steps to avoid complacency. Well, number one, acknowledge that complacency is real and that it is your enemy. Understand that routine leads to complacency. When we do the same thing over and over every day, it just sucks us right into that world of complacency, and that's where bad things can happen to us. Have the belief that today there's a possibility, however remote, that your safety and survival may be at risk. And again, I stay away from the statistics because statistics become irrelevant if you're the one that's targeted and victimized. Develop a daily routine aimed at battling complacency, and develop that winning mindset that you are going to prevail in a violent encounter no matter what. And I cannot stress enough the importance of mindset. And one of the things that always disappoints me is when you go to a lot of different trainings by different training companies, they will give you a 10-minute snippet on mindset, and that's it. Like you're supposed to just know what that entails, and we fall into these little phrases: never give up, don't quit, stay in the fight, and all that. But there's a lot more that goes into that than just those little snippets of information. So I'm a big advocate of mindset and developing that mindset that you're never going to quit in a fight and that you're going to stay in it till either the threat is neutralized or you're neutralized. You stay in that fight no matter what. So exercise number one. So yeah, we're going to give you an exercise today. I want you to write a list of 10 things you can proactively do to avoid becoming complacent. And if you didn't do those exercises in the situational awareness video, I doubt you're going to do this. And you know what that tells me? That you're complacent. So seriously, get a pen, get some paper out, and write down a list of things that you can proactively do so that you are not complacent. I don't care if you come up with 10, but I seriously want you to take the time to really think about this. And if you can't do that, again, you have to question what level of commitment do you have to your personal safety and security. And keep in mind, there might be other people that are depending on you not to be complacent. It might be your spouse, your kids, your family, your friends. It might be part of your profession and what you do. So take this exercise seriously, sit down and do it. It's not an exercise that needs to be done at once. You can just start a list, and as something comes to your mind, write it in there. A good way to do it too is put it in your notes if you have a smartphone. In the notes section, just start tallying a list. Okay, and that list doesn't ever have to be done. You keep adding to it as more and more things come to your mind. But please, I really stress, take the time to do this exercise. And then, of course, I'm going to have another exercise for you. And that is, I want you to develop a routine to use before you leave for work every single day to get in the right mindset to minimize your chances of falling into that complacency trap. So, when I was a probation officer, every day before I left my house, one of the things that I would do is I would get dressed, I'd put on all of my safety gear, and then I would go into a room and I'd do 10 to 20 dry fire, and I would make sure that they were perfect. Like I wasn't rushing it. I would do 10 to 15, maybe 20 reps of perfect dry fire. And then after I was done with that, I would load up my weapon, I would do a function check, and then I would check all of my safety gear. So I would look at my handcuffs, I'd make sure I have my two spare keys, and then I also had one hidden key on me in case for some reason I was taken hostage. I had access to a handcuff key. I would check my baton, my OC spray. I'd make sure that my duty belt was squared away and everything was good. I literally went over all of my equipment every single day. I put it on. Before I left the house, I would say to myself, I'm on duty now and I'm going to be in condition yellow. Too many people have that mindset that they're not on duty until they get to work. But I've been targeted for violence. I've had legitimate death threats against me. I wanted to be safe all the time. So my safety doesn't start when I get to my office. My safety starts the second I'm leaving my house. And as I'm leaving my house, I'm making sure that I'm not complacent. My mindset is squared away. I know all of my safety equipment is in good, proper functioning order, and I'm ready to rock if necessary. That was one thing that I would do every single day to kind of get me to fight complacency. Once I got home, I would do 10 more dry fire reps. So that way, at a minimum, I was getting 10 quality dry fire reps every single day. And if you add that throughout a year, that really adds up. And then obviously there are other times I would do just dry fire sessions separate from that. But to get my mindset squared away, to fight complacency every day, that was kind of my morning routine that I would go through every single day prior to going to work. And this, from the second I would leave my house, I'm not going to be a complacent person. My safety was a priority. In your routine that you develop for yourself, you need to be specific and detailed. You have to have a set of objectives of what you're doing to accomplish your goal of fighting that complacency and that routine. So fighting complacency, it requires discipline. It's kind of one of those things like situational awareness. You're probably not as good at it as you think you are. That's okay because you're going to work on it. But remember, complacency is going to attempt to get you at every single opportunity. Mr. Murphy is going to knock at the worst possible time. So if you're being lazy, if you're tired, sick, injured, angry, frustrated, short-staffed, you're having problems at home, any other reason that you can come up with, it doesn't matter. Because that dedicated threat that wants to hurt you, they don't care if you're not feeling well. They don't care if you have a pulled hamstring. They don't care if you're fighting with your wife or your husband or your kids are having trouble in school. They don't care if you didn't get enough sleep that night. So you cannot have an excuse to not be safe. So you have to fight that complacency all the time, regardless of all those factors that we have to deal with in our life. And I get it that there's some of those factors are real and they're legitimate and they do impact us. But at times we got to kind of set some of that stuff aside and make sure that our safety is a priority, especially if you're working in a profession where your safety can be a jeopardy. Routine. Routine is a harmful trainer if you don't combat its insidious impact every single day. Think about this. When you practice a skill, trainers will tell you, practice it perfect. Every time you do it wrong, you're learning it the wrong way. So you can't get sucked into that routine. Everything you do, you got to do 100% correct. And don't worry about being fast and high speed and Mr. Tactical until you have those basic fundamentals down. Predictability is going to be your enemy. Complacency is going to be your enemy. Routine is going to be your enemy. And I'm sure you've heard all of these before, but now I'm telling you, sit back, look at the paradigm that you view your safety and security at, and really evaluate where you're at with all of this. Complacency is going to be your greatest enemy. You got to fight it every single day, every task. Routine is going to lead to complacency, and complacency is going to lead you to serious bodily injury or death because you're going to start taking shortcuts on your safety. If you're working in a job such as law enforcement, you're going to take shortcuts on policies and procedures. All that stuff's going to work against you. You can't do that. And if you're that complacent person, starting today after this video, you're going to square yourself away and you're going to refocus on what you need to do. And it takes work, it takes effort, and above all, it takes time. And you got to be consistent with all of it. You are not immune to complacency. Don't think you are. Don't think that you're not that complacent person, because we all need to work on it. You don't get there, right? This is a daily task that you have to work on. You're not there. And you got to be proactive with your safety. There's just no easy ride. You pay your dues every single day with this, just like working out. Again, got some books on Amazon. Please check them out. Contact information, you can email me at dedicatedthreatsolutions.com. If you want a topic covered, shoot me an email and I will see what I can do. Check out my website at dedicatedthreatsolutions.com. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification button, and link up with me on my other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Indeed, and you can check out my Amazon author page as well. As always, folks, train hard and stay safe.